Hello, welcome to Sister Friends Cups and Conversation. I'm your host, Teresa Cooper. Are you ready to talk? This is going to be a great new table, new Sister Friends, and we're going to be talking about trust. What to do when trust is broken. It's going to be good. Let's go. Hello, welcome to Sister Friends Cups and Conversation. I'm your host, Teresa Cooper, and I'm glad that you've joined me today. I got my co-host.
I'm here, Catherine Young.
Absolutely. And then we have two new ladies at the table with us today, two sister friends. We have Miss Crystal Turner.
Hello, I'm so glad to be here.
Yes,
Good to
thank you
have
for
you.
being here. And then we have Dr. Gloria Mays.
Hi, thank you for the offering and the opportunity to be here.
Yes, this is going to be a great table. We're going to have an enormous conversation about something that many of you have experienced. But before we start, our guests have their Sister Friends cup.
Go.
And so if you need a Sister Friends cup, all you have to do is go to our website and you can purchase one. And then our cup for today, our featured cup for today is this sunflower cup. And you know, sunflowers are some of the most resilient flowers ever. And you almost can't kill a sunflower.
That's right.
And so I thought it would be befitting for this table. And, you know, yellow makes me happy.
Yes,
And
yes.
so I'm a fan of sunflowers, and I have a friend. One of her social media monikers is the what was it? The wildflower. She says our friend. It's in her name. She has her moniker for the name Radical Wildflower.
Oh, okay.
Radical Sunflower. The Radical
yes.
Sunflower.
Okay.
I'm like, now that's a double. Right, because sunflowers just kind of, you know, they stand out.
Yeah.
And I know you like sunflowers, right?
My favorite.
Yes. What is it about the sunflower?
It's resilient.
Yes.
And when it's weak or it's feeling down, they face each other to lift each other up. And then they face the sun to get power.
Okay.
Yes.
So
they
do we got some
back up.
Do we got some sunflowers out there?
Oh, yes.
Yes, that's beautiful. So this is our featured cup, and we're glad that you're joining us today. So we're going to be talking about when trust is broken, the trust factor. And I think most of us can say at some point in our lives, and some of us might be in that right now, where we have a trust issue that maybe we're struggling with trust. And trust is simply a firm belief in reliability, truth, someone's ability, or the strength of someone or something. And so trust, it's broad. It goes in almost every area of our lives. We put trust in relationships, friendships, trust in businesses and organizations, and so it's a big factor in our lives. And I got a couple of things that I wrote down, and then I'm going to just do it bit by bit, and then ask these ladies to comment and give their spiritual opinion as well as their professional opinion. Dr. Gloria Mays is the nurse practitioner on set today. Yes. So trust can be hazardous when you're moving through the maze of relationships. We can all identify with that. However, distrust disturbs confidence. It makes what could be a strong relationship questionable. With trust, without trust, there is no peace. Trust strengthens a relationship connection, but distrust produces a progression of fear and apprehension. So without trust, there is no peace. Dr. Gloria, can you speak on just that little statement right there?
Yeah.
I just want to wholeheartedly underscore the lack of, when there is a lack of trust, you're going to always have all of those negative emotion that goes with it. The first one is always fear.
Okay.
This also will bring about a major insecurities.
Yeah.
And what you thought or at one time believed, it seems like it shatters reality. And oftentimes when I tell everybody, trust is the core component.
Yeah, that's
You
good.
need that in the center of everything.
Yes.
Without it, your relationship is flawed.
Yeah.
They're fragile, vulnerable to all kinds of assaults. And in any relationship, whether it's personal, interpersonal, whether you're on your job or you can't trust your boss, or whether even your relationship with God.
Yes.
And then another component, and I often tell people that trust is something that has to be earned.
Yeah.
Yes.
You
Yeah.
just don't walk in and
Yes.
and you know that there's a word such as blind trust,
Yes.
and that's something that you don't give.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, you know, my husband has a saying. He says, you know, you're gonna start at a 10. When I meet you,
Right.
I met you for the very
Yeah.
first time. You're a 10.
Face value.
And then you have
Yeah.
to,
Yeah.
your actions
Right.
and
Yeah.
your behavior is what is going to take you from a
Yeah.
10 to an 8 or to a
Right.
5. And so it's really in your control.
Yeah.
And so it's so important that the people that are in your environment have the same level of respect for trust
Yes.
as you have.
Yes.
Kathy, is there something?
And I think also trust, when you putting your trust out there, you can't filter it through your pain.
Okay.
Because sometimes if you filter trust through your pain and your insecurities, it could throw the whole trust factor off.
Yeah.
So I'm like, Bishop, when you meet somebody the first time, I'm a little more, because Bishop is more outgoing.
Right.
I'm going to sit back, I'm going to study the room, study
Yeah.
the person first, and then try to get to know them a little better. And then from there, I give them the trust, and then just maintain and make sure I'm trusting them with a pure heart.
Yeah. You know, and just listening to you talk, I immediately went back to the sunflower. Like, why the sunflower could be like your favorite flower is because it's proven to you
Yes.
that it could bend so low, like
Yes.
almost all the way to the ground. I've seen a sunflower, and you would think it's dead, it's dying, but then somehow miraculously through the sun, it'll the next day or a couple of weeks, you could see that it found its way
Yes.
to stand up straight again.
Yes.
And so it's convinced you that it's worthy to be your favorite
Yes.
flower.
But you
Okay.
also bring out a essential component when you say the value of something.
Yes.
And
yes.
if the two people or whoever, if there's no value in it,
That's good.
then the trust can't be built.
That's
Right.
good.
And
That's good.
mature, you have to look at it in a mature sense. In the beginning, the trust value is very low, but it exists.
Right.
But it has to be built up
Yes.
over
Yes,
time.
yes,
And
yes.
we have to understand that everybody wants the trust factor to remain the same, but it can't. Any relationship, we all are growing, we all are
Right.
changing,
That's right.
and so trust has to be built up. And oftentimes relationships are challenged.
That's right.
And your trust is the thing that's going to keep it together.
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah. I want to
Yeah.
read this next phase, and then I'm going to turn it over to Crystal. It says, in this era, the purity of trust has become rare. Okay. Perpetual underhandedness, trickery, and the art of deception have made every aspect of life shell-shocked with suspicion. Okay. Whether there is uncertainty about business, marriage, friendship, leadership, work, family, ministry, or even God, we must all understand the truth about trust. I want to go back to that part where it says, in this era, the purity of trust has become rare. What are your thoughts on that? Because, you know, just dealing with all the underhandedness and how everyone's, trying to climb that ladder, and as they're trying to climb it, are you a means to an end, and how that affects the trust factor?
Right. And I think, it goes with experience and where people have been. Sometimes how people have been raised, the things that they've experienced. And just from the spiritual, you talked about the heart and how everything filters through it. That's one thing, to guard your heart. The Bible says, for out of it flows the issues of life. And if you notice everything, the way that you handle people, it all has to do with the way your heart filters everything.
Yeah.
And so if you've dealt with a lot of trauma, if you've dealt with trust issues from whatever reason, family, church, whatever it is, you have a tendency to treat, and your actions are indicative of that, of what you've done. So, if you've never been a person where you've seen trust in action, then your thoughts of how you treat somebody to get where you need to go, to you, this is just the way that it is.
Yes.
Because this is what you've experienced.
Yeah.
And so I think that now what we see is a lot of people who their actions are just indicative of what they've went through.
Yes.
How they've handled
Yes.
it. And then when you go through things and you don't heal, and you just keep, there's layers and this layer and this layer, you don't even understand how your actions affect other individuals.
Right.
So then you have people around you that you can't trust. And if I'm that type of person, I honestly feel like everybody around me kind of is the same way.
Yes.
I don't even know how to receive trust.
Yes.
Because because it's not something that I've received or something I've seen or experienced.
Yes.
And
Yes, how do you, and I completely understand what you're saying. And if you're watching, you're like saying, well, but how do I function, or how do I authentically live in that space when everybody is traumatized in some way? And I'm just like, well, I ain't been traumatized like that.
Right.
I know how to be friendly. I know how to be kind. I know how to lend grace to people that they may not be on the level or in the same place that I'm in, and I can clearly see that. So I'm not gonna. I'm gonna interact with them differently.
Right.
Like I can. I know how to regulate my groups of friends and associates, and who can take so much and who can't take this. So how does a person still thrive in the midst of trickery, or in the midst of trauma, or in the midst of suspicion? Everybody like, you just saying hi, and they're like, okay.
Yeah.
What you
We gon'
want?
see.
Right.
What she need.
Right. I think, realizing that there's only one person that you can 100% control.
Okay.
And that's yourself.
Yes.
My actions, I can't control other individuals.
Yes.
I only have control of what I do and my actions. And then if you know that people are some way, you act accordingly.
Yes.
So I just feel like not becoming so engulfed with how people are.
Yes.
Because again, I can only control my actions.
I love that you said act accordingly.
I can only control, my actions when everybody around me is. If I'm trying to do something, even in the job, and I know that someone is doing something wrong to try to get to that next level or eclipse you or whatever, I can only control what I do.
Right.
I cannot control other individuals.
Yeah.
I have no control over that. So I can only control control my actions, how I react as well.
Yeah. And that's good. Kathy, did you have?
Some people need, like with me, it was from just a different environment and different circumstances in life. And when it came to the trust factor, I still knew who I was. I was still trying to be friendly, but then I was untrusting, and I had to finally say, Lord, help my heart. God, help my heart.
Right.
Don't let me get beat up out there.
That's true.
Don't let nothing happen to me. Because freely you would usually give and do, and then it's everybody ain't like you. Everybody,
People
and then
will
you get beat up, and then you gun shy now because you can't. You don't want to touch. So I had to come to the realization to ask the Lord, you go before me.
That's right.
And you know every motive, you know everything, and not that I'm perfect.
Right.
But you know what I can bear.
Right.
Yeah.
And that's so important, because I've prayed that prayer myself, where I've said, Lord, don't let people's reality change who I am.
Right.
Yes.
I'm fighting for who I am. And who I am is a trusting person.
Yes.
And I can't alter that based on your pain
Right.
or your distrust.
Right.
I see it, and I see you, and I have respect for what you've been through, but I can't let it change me.
Especially being a first lady in ministry, because people want to take their jabs,
Yeah,
you know,
yeah.
or being a woman in ministry.
Right.
I done been places, put the pulpit on the floor.
Right,
she
right.
can't get up in the pulpit. You know, just different stuff. And you like,
Right.
okay, now, Lord, you done called me. But then you know the circumstance. I know who I am,
Right.
but God has to deal with the people.
That's right.
Right. So this next part of trust says trust must be given based upon the track record of a person's credibility.
Yes.
Okay, consistency, dependability, and truthfulness. One must learn to trust the God they follow, trust the husband they're married to,
Yes.
trust the leader that they sit under,
Yes.
trust the ministry that they attend, and trust the children they are raising. Not blind trust, but earned trust.
That's
Wow.
And that
good.
kind of goes to what you were saying, Dr.
Yes,
Mays, about the
yes.
poor and how you want to speak to that. Continue to talk about that.
When you gave all of those other components, and I was thinking about, trust really is a twin brother to integrity.
That's good.
That's good.
Yes, that's good.
You trust a person when they are reliable, when they're resourceful, when they say what they're going to do, but then most importantly, when they do what they say.
Yes,
That's right.
And that builds your trust. You said,
Yes.
"Oh, okay, now this is somebody I can really trust." But when I think about again maturity, because we always want to develop people,
Yes.
and we all know that in the beginning, our trust is almost what I call at a very minimal level.
Yes.
And being in ministry and being a professional, I know when I walk in the room, people have what I call a referred trust in medical providers.
Yes.
They just believe that when I walk in the room, whatever problem they have, I'm going to solve it for them.
Yes.
But I also know that we're in a different time, whereas in mental health, people already think that when I walk in the room, oh, you're going to psychoanalyze me. You're
Yeah.
going to put me on these
Yeah.
medicines, right? You already know I'm a mass murderer, right? No, I don't.
Right.
I just want to know. Everybody knows what the problem is. They don't know how to solve it.
Yes.
Right.
And so what we come in is that we can identify when a person doesn't have trust.
Yes.
And we
Yes.
can be empathetic, but it is up to them to be willing to say, hey, I want to be able to trust you.
Yes. Yes. Yes.
And nothing you can ever do to make them do that. They have to be willing to do that.
Yeah. Yes.
So when you have integrity, it becomes a catalyst.
That's
Almost
good.
like a
That's
battery
good.
to say, hey, you know what? I think I can trust this person.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yes,
that's good.
good.
Unless one has given a legitimate reason why not to trust, trust should be embraced with the balance of account.
Right.
And that kind of goes with what you just said, the integrity.
integrity.
And if they've been
Yes.
consistent.
Right.
And if you can see that they don't just talk the talk, but they walk the walk. They talk and they walk, and they've displayed that. Then, no matter what you've experienced, no matter what you've been through, you should honor the integrity, the two that walk together.
Yes.
Trust and integrity, trust and dependability, trust and consistency.
Right.
And I think
Or faithfulness.
and faithfulness.
Yes,
Yes,
yeah.
I think a lot of times the world or society or just trauma has minimized the fact that people are. That someone that has been consistent.
Yes.
You know what I mean? Like they've been consistent. They haven't shifted or changed.
Right.
And every time you see them or every time you're with
Right.
them, they're like even killed. And they're always that person. That you should really
Yes.
respect that.
Yes.
You know, do you have some thoughts you want to say?
Yes,
on that?
because when we experience things in life, I think if a person just shuts out everybody and never trusts, you miss out on building those
Yes.
relationships.
Yeah. Yes.
You know what is business relationships, best friends, because you shut out everybody
Yes.
because
Yes.
of distrust.
Yes,
And you miss out on the beautiful things of life. Going back to the sunflower, you miss out on
Right.
those, and having those people
Yeah.
around you, like you said, that are consistent.
Right.
They are consistently who they are, and you need those
Right.
in your life.
Absolutely.
And when you don't have
That's
trust
right.
and you don't build trust and you allow things to keep you from trusting, you miss out on so much.
Absolutely.
You miss out on so much.
You know, go ahead.
So I have a question then. Is there such a thing as referred trust?
I believe so. I think
it
your
can.
character,
Yeah.
I think your track record, I think who you are should precede you. It goes before you, and in that, I don't. Yes, I mean,
I think
in my opinion,
I
yes.
think yes, but I don't think it's whole trust. It's referred trust, but not whole trust,
Yeah.
because whole trust is a delicate thing. But when you're talking about referred trust, it's like I'm going by your word or somebody
Right.
else's
Exactly.
word.
Right.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Right.
Exactly.
Well, and that goes along with being recommendable.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
So
Yes. Yes.
I just think it depends on your level of how you see honor.
Yeah.
You know, especially in what decade you were born. Like to
Right,
me,
yeah.
it's still
It's
important.
important.
Referred trust to me is important. So
Right,
I may not. I don't do a lot of recommendations. Don't call me to refer because I take it that
And
serious.
you put my name on it. You didn't tell me. And they call me. I'm going, really?
Exactly.
Oh, okay.
So like I'm that person, you
Yes.
know. But we live in a time where referrals aren't that important to people.
Yes.
At the level that it used to be.
Yeah.
So my ultimate, because you know, humans are humans. For me in my house, I mean, like I ultimately only trust the Lord. You know what I mean? And even I've been married 36 years, and even though I completely trust my husband, I still know that my husband is flesh, and you know what I'm saying. And so I don't give him a pass. He don't get a pass. Just like a blank card pass, like in totality.
But do you think that's just human nature? I think that I don't trust everybody, you know, totally. But I think once, you know, you know that person for a while, you be around that person, you see that they're credible, they have integrity, they have certain things, then you could give them your trust.
Right.
And then, but I'm just, you know, I think that's human nature. I don't know too many people that just go up and say, hey, I'm here.
Right.
I trust everybody. I think it's not wisdom either.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, in this time.
And
Right.
it maybe should be looked at upon in degrees based on the relationship.
Yes,
Right.
yes,
Yes.
yes.
But but even still, I think ultimately, because what protects people, and I'll go back to with my husband. He hasn't given me any reason not to trust him.
Right.
But what I'm saying is if I exalt him on the same level, as if like he's God, like he can't make a mistake, like he will never disappoint me, then that's when you're really devastated.
Exactly.
And that's when you're like,
And then you gotta know
Lord.
what, so that you don't lose your mind. You ever
Right.
see somebody they have
That's
trust
true.
so deeply, and then they
Right.
put their trust all in these people. So when
Right.
something happens, even in the church, we see it. If somebody lose trust, if they lose trust in God, somebody didn't get healed who they've been praying for, they walk away from God.
Right.
It's the
But if they were rooted and grounded in God in the first
In the
place,
first.
They their level of maturity.
Yes,
They were
yes.
immature.
Right.
In fact, I just experienced that with someone who we were in a church service, and you know, sometimes in service they will pray for people, and this person was believing
Yes,
that the
yes.
person would choose them and pray for them.
Yes.
And they got angry, and they was like, "Well, I'm leaving." You know,
Yeah.
they only pray for certain people, and I'm like, "What? What are you talking about? I'll come pray with you." No. I was like, "Oh my God!" But you know what? And I was really praying for that person, and really studying for this lesson. That's when the Holy Spirit said, that person is immature. And then when you've gone through past pains and traumas, it's difficult for you to trust anyway.
Yeah. Yeah.
And if a person really lacks trust, and it may be, you should only use it for a short period of time. You can't have a long-term period of lack of trust
Yeah.
because it's going to affect your sanity.
Right.
That's
You,
right.
and you have
That's
to
so
address
true.
it.
Yeah.
You have
Yeah.
to
You
address
have
it.
to.
It will
Yeah,
affect your
yes.
sanity.
And
And you'll be paranoid and suspicious of everything.
Yes.
No one would be able to do anything.
Right.
Yes.
I agree.
I have a couple of scriptures. Psalms 37:3 says, "Trust in the Lord and do good.
Yes.
Then you will live safely in the land and
Yes.
prosper." And we're not just talking about financially, but everything in your life will
Everything.
flourish,
Yes.
will prosper,
Right.
and you'll live in safety, and not
Yeah.
just physical safety as far as in what we would think, but safety in your heart,
Right.
safety in your mind.
Yes.
You're not living in a constant state of
Danger,
danger,
warning,
fear,
and
absolutely.
in
Yeah.
alert
Wow.
all the time.
Yes.
Right, and it starts with trust
Yes.
in the Lord. That's where it
Yes.
all
There you
begins,
go.
is trusting in the
Yes.
Lord. And then Psalms 37, same chapter, go down to the 5th verse. It says, "Commit your way to the Lord. Trust
in Him.
also in Him." So it's a couple of things you got to do. You
Yeah.
got to commit to Him,
Yes.
and then you got to trust
Yeah.
Him.
Yes.
Okay, and He shall bring it to pass.
That's right.
You
Yes.
don't have to worry about your
on.
future, your next step.
That's right.
How is the end? How is it going to end? Is the end going to be favorable?
Right.
When you commit
Yeah.
your way to Him, and then you trust Him, that you trust that He can hold that which you've committed.
Yes.
Yes.
Which
And
was-
that brings peace.
Yes.
Yes, and that's what the peace of God that
Yes.
surpasseth all understanding. When you trust Him totally,
Yes.
I always say I trust Him with my entire life. He's a sovereign God,
Yeah.
and He's our heavenly Father.
Yes,
And so I
yes.
think about my natural father,
Yes.
how He only wants the best for me.
Yes.
Now sometimes getting the best, now the process
Yes,
might not
yes.
necessarily be what I think it should be,
Yes.
but because I trust Him,
Yes.
and because I know that He holds tomorrow, and I know that He says I have an expected end for you, I can trust Him.
Yes.
And when I trust Him 100%, that means I'm not trying to figure out how He's going to do it, but I trust Him, then I can have a peace that, you know what, whenever I'm going through, whatever step, wherever I'm at, He has me. He has me. I'm committing my ways. I'm committing my life. I'm committing my will
Yeah.
to Him, saying, you know what, God, if this is your will, I trust you.
Yes. Amen.
And you know what? That goes back to just really building your relationship with the Lord and growing in the Lord. Because I can remember when I first got saved, I was still cautious of just things, people, even God. You know, I'm in religion. I'm
Right.
growing in the Lord. And I can remember I got to that point to where I trusted the Lord.
Yeah.
And He asked me, He said, "Give me your children."
Wow.
And I ignored Him for months. And every time because I could protect my children. I could look after them. Nobody could do it like this.
Right.
And every time before I even got on my knees, He said, "Give me your children."
Wow.
Because He knew that was the last hope.
Right.
Yes.
You know, because my children, can't nobody protect them like me.
Yeah.
And I can remember going into prayer and I say, "Take them, Lord. I give them to you. If you can." And when He said that He would keep cover and protect him, it was like a growth for me because I saw Him do it. And just the other day, I say, "Lord, I thank you. You have kept your word."
Yeah. Wow.
And it makes you stronger.
Yes.
And it
Yes.
builds your trust because He has kept
Yes.
His word and everything. And it's like a natural father.
Right.
If we don't have that authority in our life that's supposed to protect, cover, and help us
Right.
to learn trust, it's hard to trust God.
Yeah.
And we got
true.
Christians,
Yeah.
they are walking with the Lord, but they have not had, like Bishop said, a
Natural.
reference point.
Yes.
Right.
That's it.
A pattern to
Yes.
follow
Right.
because they won't go to the next level because they are afraid.
Right.
But they
Yeah.
could do it.
Yeah, that's good.
That's good.
We're just about out of time, but I want to.
Wow. Went so fast.
I want to hit these 4 points because you may be watching and you might be saying, "Well, I've broken trust. There's people in my life that they're having a hard time trusting me. How do I, restore that? How do I fix that?" And these are just 4 points. I'm sure that there are more, but the first thing is do what you say you're going to
Yes.
do.
Right.
Yeah.
Keep your word.
Integrity.
Follow through. Be
Yeah.
consistent. Keep your word. Tell the truth.
Yes.
People already know when you're lying, so it should be your policy to just be truthful in all things, even if it hurts. If it may hurt them, but you're rebuilding something,
Yes.
and the only way that you can rebuild something is
Acknowledge
through
truth.
Acknowledging. That's what I was going to
Yes,
say. Yes,
yes.
acknowledge.
And so the next one is expressing yourself gives other people permission to express
Yes.
themselves. So you can't be walled off, or
Right.
you can't live in a cover, in a facade, but
Yes.
really expressing, where you're at, what you're
Right.
feeling, what you're going through, and then that would be reciprocal.
Right.
Yes.
Because
Right.
that's the real. That's an
Yeah,
important
that's
thing.
it, yes.
And then the last thing is if be a secret keeper.
Yes.
Know the honor of holding
Right.
precious things when people
That's
give
good.
you pieces of their
Confidence.
life,
Yes.
the confidence.
And even if those relationships change,
Yes,
if
that's
someone
good.
has given you, have trusted at
Yeah.
any point,
Yes.
something secret, you can still keep
Yes,
it.
That's
that's
right.
good. That's good.
And I have right next to that, don't use gossip to
Yes.
build other relationships.
Right.
Yes, yes.
So be an oath keeper.
That's
You
it.
know,
That's good.
that is right there. Be an oath keeper.
That's
Yes.
right.
Because sometimes people will use other people's pain as leverage
Yes.
for their benefit.
Right,
Stepping
right.
stone.
Yes.
Exactly.
And so that's an important piece to trust. We've covered a whole lot in this short little time.
Yes.
This is a big conversation. I want to just really sum it up with this thought about being mindful, having mindfulness, having forgiveness.
Yes.
Yes.
Forgiveness
Very
is key.
important. Yes, yes.
Dr. Mays, do you want to add something to that?
I'm really glad you brought up forgiveness.
Yeah.
Yes.
Because when trust is broken, there has to be an
There has to be.
acknowledgement,
Yes.
and there has to be a willingness on the other person to forgive.
Yes.
Yes, yes.
And when it's not there, that trust will never be restored.
Yes.
Wow.
That's
But how do
good.
you, sometimes relationships end, and like you said, never be restored. But what are the steps that you could take to make sure that you're whole?
Oh, coming to closure is so important.
Yes.
And I would tell the individual first, you go to God.
Yes.
He is
Yes.
the mender of
Yes.
all things.
Yes.
And when your trust is broken, you have to go through what I call a restoration phase. You
Okay.
have to you got to put your heart out there.
Yeah.
Yes.
And little by little, but you want to make sure you are mirroring what you want.
Yes,
That's good.
that's
I like
good.
that.
You want
That's
you
good.
Yeah.
want to be able to trust, but make sure you're trustworthy.
Trustworthy. That's
that's
good.
good.
That's
good.
And then start with yourself.
Yeah.
Right.
Keep oaths with yourself.
Yeah, that's good. Well, you've heard it at this Sister Friends table. We've talked about trust, the importance of trust, and what to do when trust has been broken. Thank you for joining us, and don't forget, something to sip on is next. Thank you for joining this conversation today. It was a great one. I'm glad that you were able to be a part of it. We talked about trust, we talked about integrity, consistency, dependability, and what to do when trust has been broken. Be sure to share this conversation, sisters. We are sunflowers, and we are determined to shine and to bloom in every season. Be sure to stay with us and catch our Something to Sip On is next. This is Something to Sip On. I want to leave you with these last couple of thoughts. Forgiveness is a work of the Spirit. Okay, it's not a part of our natural inclination to forgive. When we walk in forgiveness and we seek forgiveness, you need to know that that's something spiritual that's happening, supernatural, is from God. It's important for you to embrace silence, embrace and lean into the space between you. Sometimes there needs to be space in relationships, and it's okay. Lean into that, and also just recognize that time heals hearts. And so that's what I want you to sip on. Kathy?
I would say be a sunflower, rise and shine. And don't filter trust through your pain. Get delivered from your pain and rationalize your pain. Get the help you need. Put your trust out there. Allow God to do all the filtering for you, but trust Him first, and then give Him your heart, and then He'll work all the other formalities out.
Yeah, that's good. Miss Crystal Turner.
I would say do not let the enemy weaponize your emotions and your vulnerability. Realize that they are temporary, and the decisions and the reactions that you make from them can have permanent effects.
Wow,
good.
yeah.
That's good, Miss
Wow.
Crystal.
Dr. Gloria Mays.
Understand that trust is a protective factor and that it's developed, and you want to look for core components such as integrity. You want to look at reliability, but you also want God to be a part of that process. Know that your trust has to be developed and be mature and genuine, and be honest, be able to share with an individual that you don't trust them.
Well, ladies, this is some good wisdom at the table. We want you to take it, apply it, walk in God's wholeness in your
Yes.
life, because He has the very best intentions for you. Be a sunflower. God bless.